In this video, we will have a look inside one of the greatest minds the world has ever known, the mind of Aristotle. Let's discuss then, what is the goal of our lives?
Every action and every choice aims at some good. In war, we want to achieve victory, and in medicine, we want to achieve health.
Well, Aristotle, if everything aims at some good, then what do we mean by good? Is there one main good, or are there more?
There are different types of goods. Some we desire for the sake of something else, like wealth and power, and some we desire for themselves. The chief good, that at which all things aim, clearly has to be something which we desire for itself. If the chief good wouldn't be desired for itself, then everything would be desired for the sake of something else, and yet none of these would have any value in itself.
Okay, Aristotle, tell us then, what is this chief good?
Well, as we already mentioned, the chief good has to be something which we pursue for itself, and not for the sake of something else. Let's discuss then. What are those goods which we pursue for themselves? The goods that are good in themselves are those goods that are pursued even when we are isolated from others. When we are alone, we pursue goods like intelligence, honors, and certain pleasures. We pursue those for themselves, but we also pursue them for the sake of happiness, because we hope that they will make us happy in some way too. From this, we can draw the conclusion that there are three different kinds of goods. Firstly, the ones that are pursued for the sake of some other good, like wealth and riches. Secondly, those that are pursued for the sake of themselves and also for the sake of another, more final good, like honor and intelligence. And thirdly, those that are pursued only for themselves. The final good is that for which sake we do everything else. Therefore, the final good clearly has to be something which is pursued only for itself, and not also for something else. The only thing we choose for itself and never for something else is happiness. Therefore, happiness is to be the most final good. Let's test if this is true or not. If the chief good is also thought to be self-sufficient, it is such a final good that even if we would be isolated from others, it makes life lacking in nothing. And again, such a thing we think happiness to be.
Well, that might be true, but how do we even define happiness? Some people define happiness as having pleasure, others define it with honor, and again others define it with health.
We can find the answer to this question in the way human beings function. Let's discuss this. If a good violinist plays his violin, in what is the good to be found? It is to be found in playing the violin. And is this to be found in playing the violin badly? No, it is to be found in playing the violin well. It is the same with man. To be good, one has to do the activities which are peculiar to man, like playing the violin is peculiar to the violinist. And a good person has to do these activities well, in the same way a good violinist plays his violin well.
What is it, then, that which is so peculiar to men?
It is reason, because there is no other being that possesses reason. Therefore, the activity which is peculiar to men has to be an activity which follows or implies reason. If a man does these activities, and if he does them well, we call this man good or virtuous. Now the question might be, why does being good or virtuous make someone happy? If someone is righteous, he enjoys acting justly. And if he wouldn't enjoy acting justly, then he wouldn't be called righteous. In the same way as a righteous person enjoys acting justly, man will enjoy acting virtuously. This is natural for man. Therefore, a virtuous person will always enjoy his own actions, for a virtuous person always acts virtuously.
So that's it? If one lives according to these principles, he is a good person and will live a happy life?
Well, there still remains one question which we will have to answer before we can properly state what makes one happy. This is the following question. Does happiness also depend on fortune? Because it might be hard to be happy if one suffers many great misfortunes. Well, it is true indeed that a man might never be happy if he suffers many great misfortunes, like the loss of children or family. But even if a virtuous man might never be happy, he will never become miserable. For a virtuous man acts virtuously, and even if he would suffer many great misfortunes, he still wouldn't do those acts that make him miserable. And now we can properly define what makes one happy. To be happy, one has to live virtuously, and he needs a portion of good fortune. We can't control what happens to us in life, but we can control how we act. So live life virtuously and act with great nobility. And for those that suffer many great misfortunes, always remember that the only way you can keep yourself from getting miserable is to live virtuously.